Good morning, Steve Ray in Chicago with the morning grain comment. Well, grain futures are higher after USDA dropped weekly U.S. corn, soybean, and spring wheat crop ratings more than expected. In the beans, it's 54% good to excellent versus 59 last week. The lowest is Michigan at 23, whereas Illinois dropped 11 to 36% good to excellent. In the corn, crop is rated 55% good to excellent versus 61 last week. Illinois dropped 12 to 36% good to excellent. States like Michigan, Missouri, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin dropped below 50% good to excellent. And in spring wheat, the crop was rated 51% good to excellent. Last week was 60, last year was 68. And we saw drops in South Dakota, Minnesota, and Montana. We also noted yesterday that the weekly export inspections were low numbers in all three, which could offer resistance to the marketplace. Right now, the funds are pretty much even to a little bit long beans, meal, oil, and corn, and still short wheat. Yesterday was a pretty low volume trade in front of the crop ratings, but there was a little bit of buying before the ratings. I would think domestically most end users are nut covered except flour, and globally it's the same. When we look at export trade, Brazil is still much cheaper than the U.S. and still garner most of the new corn export sales. Same thing in the soybeans, and the only issue is logistics. Can Brazil ship out a record amount of beans and a record amount of corn at the same time? Last month was a record amount of beans shipped from Brazil, but there is talk that they may slow that down a little bit as the corn is harvested and moves into the export channels. There is talk that European corn domestic prices are on the defensive because of talk of increased Brazil imports. As far as weather is concerned, again, looks like between now and the weekend we'll see warm and dry conditions across most of the Midwest, suggesting next week's crop rating could also see a decline. There is some scattered showers over the weekend, but I don't think it's enough to sustain a crop. And then next Wednesday, both maps show a rain event for the Midwest, but again, could be scattered, especially in the dry areas of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, and parts of Ohio. There is rains up in the Dakotas. Canada should see part of that rain. There is rain down in the southern delta and also in the southeast. But the Midwest, that center part, which Illinois is 15% of the corn crop, is dry. And so now the question mark, do we have a yield below 177? Because the yield below 173 is probably bullish. The same thing, you take a bushel off the bean yield, and that's 80 million bushels less of a carryout. So it's a battle between whether lower supply here in the U.S. versus lower demand for U.S. exports. When I look at the July weekly chart, the next resistance comes in at around the 1550 area. For the near weekly chart, and corn resistance comes in initially at 674.